Welcome to And Action, episode 35, The Office Mix-Up. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so we figured, you know what, let's dive into a little romantic comedy to get things going today. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Mikey Messier. What's
How's it
up,
going?
Mike?
I'm good, Tom. Hey, before we go any further, let's have a special acknowledgement, if you don't mind. I believe it's your father's birthday, Tom DiNucci Sr. Is that
It,
correct?
it sure is, so big And Action salute to my dad, Tom DiNucci Sr., for putting up with all of my shenanigans throughout the years. We're going to be talking about the word shenanigans a lot on this podcast. So I'm excited. He'll probably be watching the show later. So happy birthday, Dad! It's also
Dr. DiNucci,
you
Dr.
know
DiNucci, medical doctor.
this is a big birthday today. It's also Sully Erna's birthday, the
Oh,
lead singer and frontman of Godsmack. Shot him a text this morning, so today's his big day. And tomorrow is actually my long time producing partner, mentor Chad Verdi's birthday.
oh,
So
congratulations, Chad.
big, still looking at pretty much first single digit days of February here. Um, and today I'm really excited to talk about the Office Mix Up, which few people know this, but the original title of the movie is Mistaken. But we're going to get into that later. Before we jump in, Mike, what was your feedback like on last week's episode of, our showcase of Tommy Dreamer?
It was very positive, and buddy, not only was it positive from the audience, but it inspired me to go check out what Tommy Dreamer's doing these days. And he's been appearing in Impact Wrestling and kind of revitalized his feud with Bully Ray Dudley, and Mickey James is involved. And so Tommy, I don't know if we stated last week. I think we did. He's actually really good on the mic. He's really good on the microphone doing promos and interviews. And it was cool to see that he's still doing quite well in that aspect. Him and Bully Ray going back and forth. So shout
Yeah,
out to
and
Tom.
you mentioned it a little bit, but Tommy also appears on Busted Open podcast all the time. It's a very big show, so Tommy's doing great. It was great to talk about him, and I'm excited to talk about something a little new, totally different subject. That's the fun thing about And Action. Really, like every week you're going to get something very, very different because I've gotten a chance to work on a lot of really different projects, really a lot of genres, a lot of different types of performers and actors from so many corners of the world. We're excited to kind of have that variety as part of this show. But before we jump in, I just wanted to tell everyone if I look a little bright right now, it's because this is part of the reason why we were delayed today here in the porch, the headquarters of And Action. I had one of my big curtains come down. It was curtains. It was almost curtains for us, Mike. Right before we were about to go, the whole thing just kind of boom came down. It was a loud noise and just a blast of like this whole screen was just white light. So it was almost like the And Action viewers would have thought I was dying and they were going into the light, but they're not. We just had I kind of rigged it. It's a little crooked right now. If I were to turn this around and show you, it's really funny. My curtain, the rod is actually just like leaning, and I'm just doing what I can to block off enough light. So yeah, we're gonna, as Stephen E says, we're gonna have a curtain call here today. Let me jump before we jump in. Let's say hi to everybody, all of our And Action faithful. Ariana, what's up? Steven's, of course, with us. Kim, how you doing, Kim? Yes, we are all happy to see you today. Uh, Lots of light. We're blessed with light. Kim, thank you very much. Kim wishes my dad a happy birthday. Very cool. We appreciate that. And yeah, so let's jump right in. This is a romantic comedy, Mike. I remember when I was a kid, like, it was probably my teenage years, when you're going on your first dates, when you're like 15, 16, 17 years old, the romantic comedy is a very quintessential part of youngsters when they're coming up. These are date movies, right? These are the kind of movies that you take with that special someone, and you kind of sit back and you get a little bit of emotion, but mainly they're there to make you laugh. And at the end of the day, you hope for a happy story, right? You want a happy ending.
Right.
Rarely do these things go wrong, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a romantic comedy, a lot of them are based on the will they or won't they, which means, will the male and the female get together by the end of the film? And 99 out of 100 times they will. But once in a while, you'll get a swerve. But I mean, I think about things like Bridget Jones's Diary and Sandra Bullock movies from the mid to late 90s. And this film, Office Mix-Up, to me felt like a little bit of a throwback to like 80s or 90s rom-coms.
Yeah, and I think that was, done by design. It's kind of funny, rom-coms, as they call them, kind of went away for a little while. They were huge in the 90s, right? Like the 90s were in the early 2000s, I would say. They were like there was a rom-com boom. I feel like, you know, uh Jennifer Aniston was getting married every month at the box office to somebody, or she was dating somebody. Like they were just huge. They were, as they say, a license to print money. And I think, like any other genre or any other trend in film, eventually there's only so many ways to tell that story, and you get kind of you get flush with them. And now they kind of peppered back a little bit, but this is going back to, we shot this movie in 2019 and it came out in 2020. And right around then, there was a little bit of a revival for a lot of these romantic comedies. And you know why that is, Mike?
Why is that?
Well, we have more platforms and more spaces to show these kind of movies. So, for example, channels like Lifetime now, and all these different Hallmark channels and things like that. There are just so many ways to get that content out there, and there's a constant need for new forms of that content. So movies like The Office Mix-Up were kind of part of this uh, early, I'd say, like I said, right around the late teens, if you will. Okay, romantic comedies are coming back a little bit, and now if you look, they're kind of back full bore. I mean, J Lo just did a big romantic comedy where she goes and gets married on a destination wedding of some kind. So they're never going to go anywhere, right? People are always going to love to watch people fall in love. I think that's just, it's nice, right? I mean, it's a nice thing. People want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw one with Jennifer Lopez recently, "Will You Marry Me," which was her and Owen Wilson, which is kind of an interesting mashup for a movie couple, but it worked. And then there was another one, Ticket to Paradise, which was George Clooney and Julia Roberts actually playing a divorced couple that goes to their daughter's.
Brother, I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I saw that movie.
What'd you think?
It was a weird deal for me the day I put that one on. I've been trying to watch a lot more movies. That's something that I've been trying to do. We're gonna go into this in detail on another episode, but like I don't want to make this a therapy session for
Sure.
me. But there was a long period of time, and we've discussed this, Mike, when like I was a little jaded by the business and I couldn't really watch movies. It's part of the reason why I watch so much wrestling. It's part of the reason why I watched a lot of documentaries. It was hard for me because I wasn't quite where I wanted to be. It was even hard for me to really watch films. But now I'm kind of just like, I'm a sponge and I'm trying to learn and soak in as much as possible. So I'm actually like trying to make it a habit
Yeah.
to watch more films. So that was on. And, I love the Ocean's 11's movies, especially like the first one. And I love the chemistry between George Clooney and Julia Roberts. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. Let me put this thing on. It was like a Saturday afternoon or something. It was very just like, you know, put it on and just have it go. I don't know that I was glued to it.
Background fodder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it. And the nice thing about those movies is those big, huge budget movies, they're always going to be in a beautiful location, right? It's always going to be somewhere on some like aqua blue water beach. And it's just, so it's like, it's aesthetically pleasing. These films are aesthetically pleasing. Like that's why people like them. It's almost just like you can put them on and go to a happy place.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the movie in the theater, and the first 10 minutes, it kind of gave me spoilers, I guess. It gave me the impression
Yeah.
that possibly their daughter was actually going to come out of the closet and have a lesbian relationship with her dorm roommate because
That I don't remember, Mike, but we're not here to talk about that movie. So let's move on.
yeah,
The Office Mix-Up.
yes,
Lacey Keller is brilliantly creative. The only problem is no one seems to notice, and Lacey doesn't have the confidence to make them notice. Struggling to make ends meet between a job at her best friend's jewelry store and as a night security guard at a marketing firm, Lacey sketches some ideas for a struggling campaign, which when she accidentally gains the notice of Mikey, the firm's CEO, and his brother George, who are trying to prove himself with a new campaign. Just one problem, they assume Lacey is Valerie Staken, hence the original title, Miss Staken, an executive who actually turned down the job the previous week. Tempted for the opportunity and to catch up on her bills, Lacey takes on Valerie's identity. So you got a classic case of mistaken identity where it's a cute scene. The main character is played by Kate Manzi, and she just kind of accidentally, she's an artist and she's also working the graveyard shift as a security guard, and she accidentally leaves her book of drawings behind in one of the ad pitch rooms, and one of the bosses is kind of just stumbles upon it. It's like, whose is this? This is gold. We need to go with this. And the next thing you know, she gets called in and they think that she's a different girl. She gets the job and she just goes with it, right? That's the fun part about these romantic comedies. A lot of these movies, there are these major plot points where, like, yes, I know in real life you'd probably say, no, I'm flattered. That's actually my notebook. I work security. But no, she's like, fuck it. I'm going to become this person. This is like my ticket. And it's what's fun about these movies is, and if done right, and this movie does it right, you actually kind of are like, I think you could pull this off. I think she could pull this one off.
Yeah, that could happen. And nobody checks social security numbers or fills out an I-9 form. I get it. And the movie's fun. I mean, I'll say this, Tommy, if nothing else, quite the attractive cast members you had in this thing. I mean, I thought the cruel girl, the mean girl, I'm sure you'll get to that, the antagonist, kind of reminded me like she would be great to play Ivanka Trump in a film. I mean, she had that same
Yeah, you're
tall,
talking about
look.
Sabina Gadecki. Yeah, this was a great looking cast. I mean, you got the Lawrence boys in there too. There's a lot of attractive things to look at on screen. But we're gonna get into the cast. We'll get into all that. I wanted to tell a little backstory on how I got into this one. This is produced by Richard Switzer, who, Richard and I still work together today. Although this was only really a few years ago. It's kind of funny. Pandemic really did put like a cloud of eternity onto a little stretch of time. It was really only a year, maybe a year and a half, but it seemed like just that 5-year stretch or whatever the fuck it might have felt like, to me at least, in my opinion. So this is one of the last projects I did right before pandemic hit.
Right.
So like it seems like it was a lifetime ago, but really we shot this. We shot it 4 years ago. It came out 3 years ago. I think this one came out right around 2020 pandemic time. So it seems like a while ago, but it really wasn't. And I was working with Richard, and I had worked on a couple of movies. We talked about The Assault last week or a couple of weeks ago on the show. Go back in the archives and check out The Assault. That's the first time I ever worked with Richard. So Richard had seen what I could do as an actor, as they say. And by now I'd known Richard a lot better, and we'd become like really, really good buddies. And one thing about Richard and I is when we get together, we have the ability to just make each other laugh like silly little kids. Like we'll just look at each other and start cracking up. There's
Right.
a lot of comedy takes place when the two of us are together. So he knew that, in his opinion, he thought I was a funny guy, and he was like, "Oh, I think that there's this really great comedic role for you in this romantic comedy. I'm sending you the script. I want you to check it out. The character's name is Birdie." And I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember being in the gym, and what do we all do when we get a script? All right, whatever. I'll admit it. I'll be the actor who tells the truth. You take your phone out or whatever you're looking through the script, and you just scroll right to all of the parts that are yours. You look for Birdie. I'm looking for Birdie. And as I'm scrolling through the script, I'm like, and usually like I'm used to like, finding like a couple scenes and that's it.
Right.
I'm not a fucking star actor. I've rarely played anything more than bit parts. So it's like I'm looking for my couple scenes, and then I start seeing this guy popping up all over the script, and I'm like, holy shit! Like this is a pretty big character. He's like the lead character's boss in the movie, not boss, but chief of security to the night watch position.
Yeah.
So he interacts with the main character a lot. When you're a supporting actor, all you want to do is be interacting with the main cast. Like that's like a really big leg up for you. Like for all the actors getting out there that are just getting their feet wet, if you could play a small part but know that you're going to be next to the lead, then you have to be thinking in your head like, okay, my chances of surviving the final cut are increased greatly because they're probably not going to cut out a lot of scenes with the main character in it. Chances are you're going to survive. It's not the kind of scene, especially when you're in scenes that actually move the story and push the narrative down the field. It's great because you say to yourself, well, you definitely ain't cutting this one. Like, how are you going to cut? How are you going to tell the story? So I was fortunate as I'm in the gym looking through and seeing all these birdie moments, and I was like, wow, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, Tommy, let me give a little visual joke here for those watching on Tom DiNucci Film YouTube channel. If this is an actor looking at their potential screenplay for a part they might be in, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. My part, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. My part, and so
Yeah,
it goes.
bullshit, bullshit. My line is a real deal. Listen, I don't. We're just kind of kidding around. I'd like to think that most actors will actually read the whole script eventually, but we're just talking about like that first initial like,
Right,
ooh, what am I about to get into?
right.
You're probably not going to cover read that shit. You're probably going to just leaf through and or scroll through and see what's what, and then go back and check it on out. So this was Richard just being like, "Hey man, this is a funny part. I think you'd
Yeah,
crush it." And the fun thing about this character is he's really dumb. I mean, like, this is probably one of the dumbest characters I've ever played in my life, but he's so dedicated to his job. He's 100% all in to being a security guard. To him, it's of the same level as like working with, to him, it's like he works with the CIA.
right.
He might as well be protecting the life of the president for all he knows. Uh, but really, he's just kind of walking the hallways with a flashlight.
And
So
he does have a
go ahead.
he does have a mission of sorts because, as it's explained in the full film, which by the way, I watched on Amazon Prime. So if anyone has Amazon Prime Video, you can find this movie Office Mix-Up right in there as part of your subscription. But he does have a mission in life, Tommy, which is he's trying to find the Phantom Sleeper.
Yes, that's true. So part of the shtickery do, if you will,
Right.
is our main character needs to occasionally sneak a nap, and she's found this secret napping room, which is like an old electrical closet that nobody knows about. But there's this cozy little bed. I really like that set, by the way. They did a good job with that set. I
Yeah.
was actually watching this movie late last night, and I was a little tired, and I remember seeing the little set, and they had this nice little, it was like an electrical room, but it was clean. It was a small little closet. And they had a little bed with a little pillow on it, a little blanket, and then there were just these nice, like really tranquil, like almost Christmas lights hanging down. And I remember being in my sleepy state on the couch looking at that room, being like, that'd be a really nice place to sleep, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was another character, one of the other female characters, kind of the office assistant, for lack of a better term, that
Tips are off.
tips her off that we have this little hideaway nook. And there was a lot of themes in this movie, Tommy, we could get into just as an outsider looking in, as far as like the male female dynamics of the workplace.
Let's hold on that, and let's talk about just the cast to let people know who's in
Sure.
the movie first, and then we'll go into all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely want to go into the dynamics. So basically, this movie had what I call the LA experience. I've made a lot of movies, but I've only made a few movies in LA, and every time I do, it's always a little. I don't want to say more exciting, because then everyone on the East Coast will be like, "What the fuck, man?" And it's not that it's more exciting. It's just like, look, you're in Los Angeles. It's beautiful. It's 75 degrees every day. They're making literally like 100, if not hundreds of movies every day. It's just what happens out there. And there's an energy that's palpable. You can really feel this kind of like, wow, in the studio next door, they're shooting name that major motion picture with George Clooney or whoever. Like this was really cool. Like, so this is the first movie that I shot entirely in a studio, meaning we went to work every day in the same building. It was this massive complex. Like when I tell you, like probably the size of like, think of like the biggest hospital that you've ever seen. It was like that size. Like we're talking like maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 stories, multiple buildings, whole like real deal security to get in and all this, very, you got to show a pass. It's very serious when you get in there. And you know why it's very serious, Mike?
Why?
Because when you go inside, when you walk in through the parking and you see the reserved parking spots at the studio, reserved for Steven Spielberg, like, oh, there's Spielberg's parking spot. So it's like
Yeah.
that's how like you're in a pretty good studio if you're walking in and like the prime few spots are like name that fucking director. They got a goddamn spot at the studio. Like holy shit. So here I am, a kid from Cranston, Rhode Island, walking in with my little bag, and I'm ready to go to work, and I'm seeing like reserved for Steven Spielberg, reserved for this. When you walk in, like all these massive movie posters, like the Austin Powers franchise was shot there. Like all these big films were shot there. So it's kind of like that's what I mean about LA. It's like, oh shit, it's almost like you've been called up to the big leagues a little bit. And the last note on that is the cool thing about this studio is, this movie takes place in an office. So they had sets for an office. They had sets for like a prison if you need it. They had sets for a police station. They had a gym. Like if you just literally like if the talent wanted to work out like
Nice.
on their break, there's a gym. Like a nice gym, like better than the gym that you'd have at home, kind of a gym.
Sure.
There's a cafeteria where they have like literally short order cooks where it's like, hey, what do you want? We could probably make it. Just tell us what you want. So it's just like really next level in terms of like all the facilitation that you get at a place like this.
Yeah, and those creature comforts can really make you feel very confident about what you're doing. It makes you feel good. I just thought of something funny while you're telling that story about the parking lot, Tommy. Like, if you and I or whoever put together like a very mid-sized film studio somewhere, and you just for the sheer fun of it, you put like Oprah Winfrey parking lot, Oprah
Sure.
Winfrey parking space, Steven Spielberg parking space, Quentin Tarantino's parking space. It might raise the value,
They may
the
never even show up.
but they've got their
Or
parking
you
space.
could just start putting like maybe cartoon characters, like
Right.
Fred
That'd be,
Flintstone.
that'd be,
Like
that'd
what?
be
Fred walks his little stone mobile up to this thing.
Tommy,
Um,
how many days were just to ask you this, how many days do you think this shoot was? Was it like a 20-day shoot or what do
no,
you
I
think?
want to say this was right around maybe 14 or 15 days.
Okay. That's
And this
no,
was directed by Andy Lawrence. This was Andy Lawrence's first time behind the camera. Andy Lawrence is, of course, one of the Lawrence brothers. He's the youngest one of the three. And the cool thing about Andy Lawrence is he's Andy grew up in front of the camera. I mean, there's literally like clips of him on talk shows when he was a little, you know, little baby, like with his older brother, Joey Lawrence, who of course achieved fame at a very young age. So, I don't know that Andy remembers a time when like film and television weren't part of his life. But always in front of the camera, always as a performer. This was his chance to kind of say, no, I want to try my hand behind the camera and see what that's like. And just a really great director, man. Like Andy, like was just. It's very obvious that he spent a lifetime in film and television because directing was just like second nature to him. He knew exactly what he wanted, and for me, being as they say, on a just acting is what I love to do, but sometimes I don't think I might be like I'm not the most trained actor. I'm not, I've been hanging around, but
sure.
like I said, I'm not a leading man of any kind. So it's nice when you have a director that could like take that extra time with you. Especially for me, this was my first comedic role. Like I had never really done anything like this big, requiring like this much. Like the hard part about being funny, quote unquote, is if you're not funny, it's like really a big miss. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like there's nothing worse than a joke or an attempt at humor that just fucking fails. And it's one of those things where like if you're being dramatic in a dramatic scene, like, well, you could argue like, well, that character just lost someone special in their life, so yeah, they're emotional, but maybe they're not crying because they're in shock. Like you could almost bullshit like how people's emotion, like some people react differently. Funny is usually pretty much funny, and like if you're not funny, like it ain't gonna work.
Right.
So it was cool to. It's very. Let's put it this way: it's very obvious when comedy does not work, and it's like a fart in church, and it's just like it could be bad. So having Andy really pay close attention to what I was doing on this to make sure that that comedy hit, and really just he let me fly, man. Like there were a lot of times when, for lack of a better phrasing, he was like, just do something funny, Tommy. He was like, make something up, like just have fun with that flashlight. Give me a beat with that flashlight, or whatever it may be. And there were a lot of just like I want to say like in between scenes joking around that ended up in the script. Like there's a couple of those lines like I think one of them like there's one point where I got to leave and I'm like, "All right, well, I got to feed my cat. And I just leave. Like that was like an improv, you know what I mean? Like that was never written in the script. But Andy would let me just like do stuff like that.
Hey, you ever heard that expression, death is easy, comedy is hard?
I haven't.
Well, now you have, and that's an expression that has been. I don't know if that was Milton Berle or somebody like that, but that expression's been around for a while, and it's true. I mean, it's everyone dies at one point or another, but how many people can make you laugh on a regular basis?
No, it's true. I mean, like, and we're not comparing which one's harder to do or which one's better. It's just like drama's one thing, comedy's another. And I just think it hits differently if you fail. I think you can get the benefit of the doubt more from a dramatic performance. So let's get into the cast. We talked about Andy Lawrence. He directs and he has a little cameo. But also this was a big, Matthew and Joey Lawrence movie too. Matthew Lawrence plays the lead. Of course, like for anyone who's in my age range, we all remember Matthew Lawrence as the son in Mrs. Doubtfire. Come on, that was a huge movie. It was pretty cool. He was like kind of the it like if you're a cool '90s kid, that's pretty much the prototype right there. Matthew Lawrence and Mrs. Doubtfire. If it's like 1995, that's what you want to look like. So we've got the Lawrence brothers in this movie. Joey made an appearance as well, basically playing the leader of this advertising agency. And these guys, I just wanted to say real quick about the Lawrence brothers. These guys are very famous. They've had, obviously a hit TV show, Brotherly Love, which ran for many years. They've all done a ton of film and television. And the cool thing about them is, and I'm Italian American, so I can kind of vibe with them a little bit. They're like Italian guys from Philadelphia, at heart. Like they're regular guys. We had a lot of just like genuine fun time together. And it's rare when you've achieved that level of success and you're able to just be, for lack of a better phrase, just a cool person, you know?
Yeah, Tommy, I could be wrong, but I thought that Joey Lawrence started on a show called Give Me a Break, which another one of your past collaborators, Jonathan Silverman, was also on with Nell Carter. And Joey must have been 4 or 5 or 6 years old at the time. And then I think about maybe 8 or 9 years later, he had another huge run, I believe, as Joey on the show Blossom. Is that right?
Yeah. Now it's funny, I don't remember the first one. I do remember, like, I know he was a famous child actor, but like that was before my time. But Blossom, I do remember very much. Of course, everyone remembers his catchphrase, "Whoa." That was like a big deal in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like, I've heard, I never, I obviously wouldn't do this, but like I heard he's not the biggest fan of people doing the whoa around him. So like,
Well,
which I get because think about it. His whole life, people probably were just like, "Hey, you're the whoa guy." It probably just like think about how fucking much that could probably get after a decade or two. Um, so the Lawrence boys are all fucking awesome to work with. I really enjoyed, just again learning from them. They're all very talented actors. These are guys that can like performing is like breathing to these guys.
right.
And you rarely see the seams in their performances in terms of like, you know, seeing them in between takes and just having a conversation with them and then seeing them in the scene. It's not like they put their acting voice on, and they're suddenly somebody else. It's like, no, that's really them. Then of course we had Mike, you mentioned her, Sabina Gadecki, who plays basically like I guess you could say she's the bad guy in this movie. She's
Yeah.
a trifling young woman who is doing everything in her power to get poor Kate Manzi. Actually, we're gonna. I'm jumping around. We'll finish Sabina and then get to Kate. I should have talked about Kate first because she's the lead, but Sabina is after Kate Manzi's character because Kate Manzi's just some girl off the street who came in and basically like got the attention of all the executives, and now all of a sudden, Sabina feels like she's second fiddle, and she ain't gonna have that shit.
Right.
Hell no, she ain't gonna have that. So what's happening is there's a little bit of shenanigans afoot where basically it's our main character played by Kate Manzi. She's got to take the pitch art over to the printers, and Sabina's character actually has it misspelled she changes the spelling so that when they go to pitch the next morning to this big firm, they have their name is misspelled, which is like the number one, like you're dead in advertising.
I think she deliberately has the word empress misspelled with an I, so it's like Impress instead of empress, and it's
Yeah.
very insulting to the client to have the name of their cruise line or their vacation destination misspelled. So
She F's her real good with that one. So let's go back to Kate Mansi. But Sabina we'll talk about. But basically, the things that I wanted to say about Sabina is just, you might have seen her on Fire Country, which is a new show that just came out now. She had a nice run on LA's Finest. She did an episode. She was in Narcos Mexico, Entourage, ton of TV. And we actually get to spend a lot of time together, and we had a lot of laughs. She is just a very funny person. Like, her sense of humor is a lot like mine, and we could just like kind of crack jokes left and right and keep it light. And this was one of those movies where, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of having a small cast. You'll notice this is a very small cast. There's about 6 main characters. It's about it, maybe 7, and that's about it. There are a couple little parts that come in and out, but we really only focus on like 3 or 4 main characters. I'm talking the whole cast of speaking actors is like maybe 7 people. So it's pretty cool in that sense. It gives the movie I'll use the phrase, a cozy feel. Like, everyone in the film. Sometimes certain movies, they'll just like put 20 pounds in a 10-pound bag of characters, and you're like, wait, who's that guy? What's going on? You don't get to really know anybody well enough. So Sabina was really cool. And speaking of get to knowing everyone, it was a small cast. So this wasn't one of those movies where we all just like disappeared to our trailer and like hid. We were all just like hanging out, eating snacks, waiting for our chance to get out there. And a lot of that was Sabina and I just like cracking jokes and having fun and making fun of people, all in good fun. Of course, not bullying anyone, just making good light of a situation or two. A lot of funny shit happens on movie sets, and if you don't take a chance to laugh at it, it could drive you insane.
yeah, like I said earlier, she really did. Like, I was watching her in this performance and thinking, if I was casting Ivanka Trump, I would hit up Sabrina to play Ivanka Trump because she could play that mean, intelligent
Sabina, yeah. Her name is
Sab-
Sabina.
Sabina. Okay, so I
Yeah.
would hit up Sabina to play Ivanka Trump in a heartbeat. And I thought she was really great as the antagonist, and some of those cliches or those stereotypes of women undercutting women at the workplace, although they are cliches and stereotypes, sometimes they're true. And I thought that she did a really good job of representing that type of undercutting mentality. I thought that was pretty effective.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a gender thing. I think like anyone in that situation, like if you've been working for years at a
Right.
position and you saw another person, man, woman, or anything else, anyone just comes in off the street and takes your fucking spot. I don't give a shit who you are. Like, yeah, I could see why she's upset. She just got her whole career thrown off track. But let's talk about Kate Mansi.
Sure.
And by the way, real quick, last thing on Sabina. Sabina has a New England connection for you New Englanders out there. She's from Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
she grew up, not too far from the Boston area. So she's just a small town kid from Massachusetts. There's a little song there. Did you hear that? She's just a small town kid from Massachusetts.
Made your way to LA.
Yeah, we're just kind of singing today on a Tuesday.
Drop
Uh,
the R
so,
name. Yeah, good.
so Kate Mansi, Mike.
King. Yeah.
The fun thing about Kate Mansi is, guess what? Her family's from Rhode Island. I'm from
Oh,
Rhode
cool.
Island. She's an Italian American. I'm an Italian American. My haircut when I was a kid, I used to get my haircut by a guy named Tony Mansi. Who knows? It's probably her uncle or something for all I know. So Kate and I hit it off right away. Again, I apologize for the nuclear blast that's going to be hitting me
Sure.
earlier in the show. That's why we were delayed today. My whole fucking curtains fell down, and now I'm getting nucleated. So please bear with me, please. But Kate Mansi's terrific, and had a lot to do in this movie. She's getting the majority of the snaps, as they say in football. She's carrying the team, and it was fun to see her get to play this range of, just kind of like lighthearted, artsy girl working at the jewelry store, trying to make things happen for herself, and then put in this weird situation. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go for this. It's kind of like a crazy move she makes, and it pans out, and she ends up finding somebody and falling in love, and it's a really fun character that she gets to play, and we got to interact a lot in this film. And one of the fun things is just you when you're playing a comedic role, part of, and it's not always 100% exact science, but if you're making the other person laugh in the scene and they got to like get their shit together and like, okay, let's go, let's really go now. That's a good sign. So I was cracking up Kate quite a bit when we were doing our thing, and I was like, all right, this is giving me confidence. If like I'm funny to her just in reality, other people will watch this and probably think it's funny too. So that was a nice way to kind of get into it. So Kate Mansi, Rhode Island Connection, really talented actress. She got to kind of do a little bit of everything in this movie. And again, I watched it last night. Like there's even a fun scene where like she's a little bummed out and like her and her best friend are drinking and like she does a pretty good little tipsy performance, which playing tipsy is not always easy to do. A lot of times people overdo it. The key to playing tipsy is just to be subtle with it. Don't go overboard. Just slow things down a little bit. And yeah, that was Kate Mansi, and she was I'll tell you what, I would love to work with Kate again. At some point, I feel like our paths will cross. I might have to put sunglasses on for this episode.
You're so bright, you got to wear shades. Well, I thought Kate did a great job. She kind of, to me, it was kind of like she was like the Sandra Bullock in a Sandra Bullock mid-90s, late 90s romantic comedy. And you kind of see the world through her eyes, so to speak. And, she as an actress and as a character have to be sympathetic. You have to be rooting for her. Otherwise, the movie's not going to work. And I thought she did a nice job with that, because it's tough sometimes, Tommy, to be the lead role in a film or even a stage play because you're on screen so much. Any flaws as an actor you have, any lines you stumble upon, anything that doesn't feel authentic or legitimate or believable, it's so exposed if you're the lead actor in a piece. Sometimes supporting characters or smaller characters or antagonists, they have the benefit of just come in, do your 1, 2, 3 punch and get out of there. But for the lead actor in any performance, film or TV or movie, stage, it's hard. So give her credit for taking up that challenge pretty well.
Yeah, you've got nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, buddy. It's just you and the whole 90-minute movie just about. It's funny. I was watching it. Like I said, I dusted this one off and I watched it. I'm gonna shift towards this side of the world here a little bit. Look, this is like an interview shot. Like really, if this were a film, if we were framing this up like a film, this is incorrect. Mike should be over here. He should have his lead room over here. This isn't a film, it's the And Action podcast, and we really appreciate you legging it out with us as I get sunblasted. But I'm better now. I'm in the corner. This is great.
I'm just trying to crop out this light switch that was kind of growing out of my head. But Tommy, last week you suffered from what I called the Patrick Swayze and Ghost effect, and this week it's even stronger. But the sun that's streaming on you probably reminds you of Los Angeles filming The Office mix-up.
It's true, buddy. I am totally in my LA kind of vibe. Let me go back and check out some of these questions here.
Sure.
Steve says, bro, see if your city has $5 Tuesdays. I should. You know what? I got to get to the movies more. I really do. Andres says, Andres, what's up, brother? I love sets. I do too, man. There's just such an energy to it. Charlie, what's up, brother?
2 weeks in a row for Charlie. Right.
Yeah, Charlie has a question. As a director, how can you make it work? Because comedy is so difficult. I think the most difficult genre. What's your hack? 100%. I think it's the most difficult genre too. My hack is this, and I'm not saying this is a 100% effective method, but I think you need to trust yourself a little bit with comedy. I think you need to trust your what is funny to you. And I really do believe that if you find it funny, if you truly find what you're writing, what you're acting, if you find it funny and it comes from a place of genuine surprise. Usually what's funny is something that's surprising. There's a rug pull, there's something shocking. It's usually what you would not expect is what's funny. You know, because usually everyone's thinking like this. What's funny is when someone thinks like that. So it's like, not to go into a whole roundabout diatribe, but I think if it's funny to you, trust that it will be funny to others. And if it's not, you tried and you believed that that was your best shit. So it's like you can't take anything away from believing in what you thought was funny and trying to share it with the world.
Hey, Tommy, if I could throw something in about that for
Yes,
comedy.
you may, Mike.
Thanks. What I find to be a good rule of comedy is if the characters on screen are laughing, I think the audience is not going to laugh. Just something, if you have to force the characters on screen to laugh at whatever funny joke or situation is occurring, to me, that's saying that's a tip of the hat. This isn't really funny if the characters have to sell it as funny. The audience should be laughing. I don't think the characters should be laughing.
Interesting approach. But yeah, I mean, you know, but sometimes they will just have to laugh, right? You know, I did an audition the other day, for example, and
Sure.
it says like the character looks down at his phone and laughs. So it's like sometimes you got to manufacture it. And I agree, Mike. Like as far as like I'd rather fake being drunk than fake laughing. Fake laughing sucks. Having to
Yeah.
act laughing, I hate it. I fucking hate fake acting laughing. So I'm with you. Everyone looks like shit when they're fake laughing. It's very obvious. Um, okay, but I've always cracked jokes my entire life. So how would I know what to see is funny? I think you know, Steve. You got a good sense of humor. Ariana, Tommy, I guess I am just a ray. I'm just a ray of sunshine today on a beautiful Tuesday here. You have comedy of manners, physical comedy, comedy the absurd, farce. Yeah, we'll get some definitions of comedy. Usually you get good comedy by building tension and then breaking it with misdirection. Absolutely. The unexpected, surprising people. A surprise is always funny. Yes, Tommy, sometimes they do have to laugh, but they should be in the moment. Yeah, but here's the thing, guys, about being in the moment. I'm not saying you're wrong, but keep in mind, sometimes you have to do it. Take nine. Okay,
Right.
take nine. I have to laugh again. It's like being in the moment, yes, but it's the challenge about film, it's the repetition and replication of the process. So it's like, yeah, you could be in the moment, maybe those first 5, 6 takes, take 8, take 9. It's like, yeah, you're gonna manufacture at a certain point. It's just like inevitable. I don't know that I'm gonna keep doing it for you, Ariana. We'll keep you chuckling. If things ever get stale on the show, I'm gonna break out my fake laugh. And of course, taste, exactly. Like Charlie says, you know, let's put it this way. There was some shit that I would have laughed at when I was 15, 16 years old that I watch now and I'm just flat out embarrassed. I'll tell you what, speaking of my father, shout out, happy birthday, Dad. He recently shared some old home movies that he has that me and my friend Aaron, shout out to Aaron, we stole
Yeah.
his video camera and we're playing around when we're 15, 16 years old. We thought we were the funniest bastards in America. And I watched this as a full grown man. I'm like, I was the dumbest kid on the planet. There's there's nothing funny about any of this. You're dumb. But when I was 15, I thought it was fucking hilarious. So yeah, I mean, different tastes and tastes do change over time. That was a nice little sidebar. Let's get back into the Office mix-up. More actors in this movie. Samir Armstrong, really, really talented actor. You've seen her on Entourage. You've seen her on Sons of Anarchy, CSI, The OC, The Mentalist, Grey's Anatomy. Like, talk about a string of television right there.
Sure.
And she plays the best friend. And what's cool about her character is, I think she does a really great job of this, just grounding the absurdity to this film. Like, there's a lot of absurd things that happen. Like, wait a minute, so you're just taking this woman's identity and you're just gonna try and pull it off? Like, she's the character that says stuff like that, so that what that does is the characters like that are usually the audience themselves.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
voice of the audience.
they're the voice of the audience being like, hey, this is a little crazy. How are we going to pull this off? They're almost like reminding you what's at stake. They're reminding you of like, hey, if you went to the bathroom and you missed this, this is where we're at. It's almost like a built-in recap.
Right. Yeah, no, she does a great job too, and a lot of times, like you said, Tommy, these friend characters are very important to kind of, like you said, give some gravitas to the movie, to the story, to make the absurd realistic, and to push that story forward. And that's an effective job on her part.
They also have a really great little mini makeover montage, which I'm a sucker for, man. Like, who doesn't love a little montage, right? Especially like a movie like this. You know, these are the kind of movies when, like, you know, not every movie should have a fun montage. Really,
Pretty
it shouldn't.
Pretty Woman dress up. Remember Pretty
But,
Woman when they?
but yeah, a film like this, you know, again, like there are certain tropes that people in the you know are looking for in these different genre films. This is that kind of a genre. You want to see a little fun dress up moment. So
Sure.
I like that. I thought it's funny, man. You know, a lot of people might not believe this. And you hear this from famous actors in interviews all the time, but it's the same for me. And I'm just like a jobber. I'm a ham and egger actor who's just lucky to, you know, land a few roles a year. But you really don't watch your old shit ever. Like it was really nice last night. I enjoyed like that's another thing that I really love about this show. Like it was around 10 o'clock. I'd done all my work, sat down on the couch, twisted a little something up, and I put on the Office Mix Up, and I'm just kind of puffing away and watching it, and it was nice, just all by myself, just kind of soaking up this film and kind of having all these memories hit me. And it's something I don't do enough, and you know, it's not something that you can do all the time. I don't think it's something that I'd want to do all the time, but like every few years or every year, or every once in a while, I think everybody should kind of spend a night or spend some time going back and watching your old shit. As painful as it can be at times, there's also a great growth process that goes on. Because I'll tell you, like I saw some moments, you know, in this movie in my Birdie performance where like I said to myself, like, I probably wouldn't have went that way with it now. You know, like I think I've matured a little bit, even in the last few years as an actor. And I'm like, maybe wouldn't have done that one that way. Um, but again, I wasn't mad at the performance. It was just it was fulfilling to kind of watch it again. So that's all I wanted to say. Just maybe, you know, sometimes we're afraid to go back and see shit, but sometimes it's nice.
Well, there's some actors, I think Johnny Depp and Marlon Brando are known for never watching their own movies, no matter how wildly successful the films were. And other people, and I would probably fall into this category too, you kind of do want to watch your performance and see what you would have done differently or what you are happy that you did. And here's another thing, Tommy. I think it's okay just to watch the movie, just to enjoy it and say like, hey, that was a pretty cool experience that I had.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do last night, Mike. I really did. Last night, like I said, it was, you know, it was the right, perfect little time, like that time of night when no one's really bugging you. You're not getting any calls. And you kind of just can, you know, drift off, finish your night off with a good movie, which is always a nice thing to do. Let's
Hey,
keep
Tommy,
going. Go ahead,
yeah,
buddy.
there's another character. Maybe this is where you were headed. The lady that played like the office assistant, because her character has a nice arc. Another blonde
Yes,
actress.
buddy. I am on that now. That's Lily Delamere, who
Yes,
is a really nice person. I haven't got a chance to talk to Lily in a while, but
sure.
we still keep tabs on each other on, you know, social media. Check her story out once in a while. She'll check out mine. So she's a cool person, and you know, again, there was just such a great energy on this set. You know, like I've been in situations, especially with smaller casts. I mean, think about it. If you've got that one jerk or whatever. You fill in the blank for name you'd like to use. We'll keep it appropriate. I'm not going to call him a fucking asshole, but sometimes you'll get that. If you have one person like that in a small group of people trying to make a film, it can make the whole thing just be a labor and just not fun. We didn't have any of that on set. Everyone got along. Everyone was terrific, and it definitely makes for a better movie. Remember, this is a comedy. Like we're all supposed to be having fun. If this one's bitching at that one behind the scenes, it's harder for them to get together and have a proper scene together. Um, and Steven, I do agree. I should post those home movies, and then none of you will ever want to talk to me ever
Oh,
again. You'll be like, unsubscribe, unsubscribe.
you'll
Um,
only have me and Aaron left.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it is an infection, Charlie says. It is a rotten apple situation.
yeah,
And that's why we were really lucky, man. And I kind of knew that was going to be the vibe. We had a great table read in this movie. I remember we all got together like in our street clothes, you know, not in our costumes, and just read the script. And we were all just vibing. And I remember us all kind of just looking around a little circle. We put our chairs in a circle. I remember just kind of looking around like we didn't know each other. We were all just kind of like, this is going to be nice. And we were like, yeah, it was basically like the subconscious line there was like, none of you are fucking assholes. I'm very excited.
Right.
You never know, man. You usually know like right away.
Going back to that office assistant, what was her name again? The actress?
Lily Delamere, and she's
Yeah.
a great actress out of LA, and she does have a nice arc. She, you know, she's
Right.
the office assistant that gets dumped on. They're always dropping all their work on her and abusing her time, and you know, she does have a nice comeuppance.
Well, Tommy, her character kind of, I actually made notes for the show myself, based on watching the movie. And
Hold on. Hold them up again. Hold them up
Yeah.
again. Proof, folks. Look at that. Look at those notes. All right.
I said,
verified.
cast structure, I felt like there was a caste system among the characters. Like our lead character is the security lady, who's kind of low on that caste structure, and she rises up. And then the office assistant lady is also kind of low on the caste structure. And when our lead, you know, gets mistaken, so to speak, for a higher up in the caste structure, she tries to lift her up, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're going to graduate from college, and you're so awesome." And she's trying to lift her up, which I thought was a nice element to this movie. Of instead of the women always undercutting each other, like you know that other character did, Sabina's character did. These two characters were women supporting women in the workplace, and not just women, but the caste system was kind of being challenged or deregulated in that aspect. Tommy, you still there, buddy? I think I might have. Hey, folks, this is Mike Messier. I think Tommy froze up a little bit, so I'll just keep talking. But yeah, this movie, The Office Mix-Up, I did make some notes on it. The male-female dynamics of this film, which you can watch on Amazon Prime, The Office Mix-Up. The male-female dynamics were kind of interesting. It felt a little retro, you know, going back maybe to the Mad Men era or even the mid 80s, where some of these female characters were just kind of vying for the attention of the male characters. And I'm not so sure how I felt about that. But in any event, folks, I was going to say earlier, Tommy's coming back in a second, that the thing about characters laughing in films, there was one of those movies with Kevin James, Grown Ups, where all the characters like Adam Sandler, Kevin James, maybe Chris Rock, David Spade, they're all in a swimming pool and they're all kind of laughing about something. I think Salma Hayek was in there too. And to me, if the characters on screen are laughing, that's insulting to me as an audience member. I just find that to be a bit insulting. Like I don't need to be told when there's something funny. I can just experience that for myself. So there you have it. Tommy's back, I believe.
Okay, guys, Tommy. It was crazy. I saw my whole life flash before my eyes, and I went into the clouds. It was like I died, and then I came back, and my computer was back on. I'm very sorry. I have no doubt Mike took the wheel and got us through it.
I got some plugs in for all my books that are available on Amazon.com.
You son of a bitch! You took this time to promote your fucking books.
Just go to MikeMessier.com.
Good Lord, we're lucky anyone's still here. I'm dying, and you're promoting books. Unfucking-leavable.
The saddest thing about your departure was that your face froze in a really awkward.
Oh, geez, thanks a lot. Thank you. Like I needed my day to get any fucking better after hearing that.
It wasn't clever.
Hey, look, God damn it, I'm just glad to be back. Let's get back into it. We were talking about how this is just a really great small cast. We were talking a little bit about Lily and what a great job she did with her character arc. And ultimately, just really the benefits and strengths of having a small cast. Nobody gets lost in the sauce this way. Like Mike, like what did you say about her character? You said she had a really nice arc.
I think the arc was that she, like our lead actress, which I kind of like the fact that this dynamic, it's showing this cast structure that she has these talents and she's going to college at night while working during the day, and everyone's just kind of abusing her, making her order the lunches and everything like that. And our lead character sees that this other girl is also very talented and lifts her up. So I was just saying that in contrast to what I labeled as Sabina's Ivanka Trump type of character, the undercutting female. This was the female relationship, and that's why she's the protagonist, because she's lifting the
She's
other female up.
the rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, and that I found that to be a good call it like a B or a C story, Tommy. Like the arc of the office assistant. I did find that to be very effective in
Sounds.
this
I gotta be
film.
honest. To you, it sounds like that was the A story. It sounds like to me you thought that was the A story, but that's might be for different reasons. So we're gonna go into basically, wrapping this thing up with what does a movie like this really need? You need to put a nice package around it, a bow, if you will. You got to wrap it up. It's got to have nice wrapping paper. Part
Sure.
of that is good music. Part of that is good titles, right? You got to have that feel like, oh, I'm watching a cute romantic comedy. We're about to strap ourselves in and have about a good 90 to 100 minutes of jolly old fun. And part of that is right off the bat, I was watching last night. I said, this movie's got a great opening. This movie has a great, the music's terrific. The title cards fly in. We're looking at these beautiful, picturesque shots of Los Angeles, a lot of great drone shots. And you say to yourself, I'm about to watch a movie. Like it's got that feel. And I think that that's very important. And I think a lot of filmmakers miss that. Like there's something about those first minute or two where they got to have that vibe. You got to feel like it's about to go down.
Like
And
it's
this
a
movie did that.
cinematic experience. A cinematic experience is about to happen. You know what that reminds me of, Tommy, is that expression "big fight feel." Like if you
Yeah,
ever watch a
sure.
boxing match or even wrestling uses it, but it's really a boxing term. The big fight feel.
Yeah, you feel like you're about to watch a big film. And also that's music by David Bateman. David Bateman, we've talked about on the show before. Uh, really talented composer, but also just has the ability to thrive, not just work, thrive in almost any genre he tries to carve out. From action movies to dramas to we've worked with him on documentary films, some emotional stuff, inspirational stuff. You got a movie, you need scoring, you give David Bateman a call, he'll get the job done. Um, I do have one slight critique on the movie. Again,
Please.
this is all just like making a movie is so fucking hard, and people shit on movies left and right. And I used to too, man. Like when I was a kid, I'd shit on movies all the time, like because you don't know any better. You don't know how much focus and how much energy goes into just making the bad movies, you know. Um, so I'm not knocking it. It's just this is one that as I was watching the film last night, I said, I bet you the production designer wishes they could have this one back or maybe work a little differently. But this is a movie about an ad agency and the artwork that they're using as their pitches to get people excited about just could have been a little stronger. Currently it kind of just looks like they went out and got some poster boards and put them up on the wall and okay, that'll work you know, and again, I'm sure a lot of this comes down to not having the time, maybe a time issue, maybe a budget issue, whatever it may be. It would have been nice to see some legit, really nice graphics that could have been cooked up and manufactured for those scenes, so that you know, it really you get that awe factor. You're watching the movie, and again, I've never been in a professional ad agency before. I've had meetings with ad agents, but I've never actually been in the firm and most people have never actually been in a big ass ad firm that works with Coca-Cola, the airlines, the cruise lines. But we have an idea or a perception of what those places look like, right?
Expectation, perhaps.
Expectations. You picture big artwork, you picture lots of big posters and cool photographs of things. And again, those are just some of those things where it would have been cool to see a little more of that. That's really my only knock on the movie, man.
Yeah, I did have a final of my three notes was actually about Birdie, your character, Tommy. I didn't see him as maybe as dumb as you did. Did put the wise co-worker, and then I wrote naivete. I wonder if there's a noun that's like a naive person. Is there a singular word for that? But I thought he was kind of a nice mix of, I was going to say the spiritual Italian, I guess, but I mean, he did have like this certain wisdom about him with the shenanigans. We've been saying that word because that's his catchphrase. And then he kind of adapts shenanigans to different aspects of life, romantic shenanigans or business shenanigans. And I didn't think of him as dumb though, Tommy. I thought of him as kind of like spiritual, wise, a little perhaps naive. I didn't see him as totally dumb though.
Yeah, maybe not dumb. Maybe dumb's not the right word. Maybe just like, delusional a little bit. Like there's some fun scenes of him like, planning like a military operation with M&Ms and peanuts out, as if like, what would I do if the building were to ever come under attack? It's more just like he's very much in his own world. But again, I had a blast working on this movie. I love that Andy Lawrence gave me a lot of freedom. I love that Andy also just like taught me a lot about timing and like, oh, maybe you turn and you say this here, maybe look at the camera here. And I can see you like once you round the corner. So hit that line here. Andy just has a really great awareness for like where to be in front of the camera. And of course, the big thing for me was to be able to make a movie with Richard Switzer, who's, a close friend. He's like a brother to me. And,
Yeah,
uh,
he's
and anytime we get to make a movie, I mean, it's just like, we're going to have like 2-3 weeks of some real great memories, a lot of laughs, good times, and we're going to make a good movie too. So that's what you're always trying to do.
well, Tommy. I do want to say a quick shout out not only to your buddy Sully Erna, lead singer of the great band Godsmack. He and I played brothers, the Baton Brothers, along with Mike Bennett. What was it, Ole Darsaw, and the Baton Brothers from
That's right. And we're
Anderson.
going to be talking all about that next week. That's actually a nice segue, Mike, into next week's show. So today is Sully Erna's birthday. So we're going to tribute him next week on the show. We're going to talk all about Sully Erna, the band Godsmack, how we got involved together on the movie Army of the Damned. And the cool thing about Sully is there are, like Mike said, there was a movie called The Manor. I worked with him on another movie that we shot in Connecticut that we're going to talk about. So there's a lot of meat on the bone to talk about with Sully Erna, and we're going to get through it all next week. So you can join us there. And I also have some pretty cool announcements. I got hired to direct a movie that is going to be happening very soon. We're actually going to start shooting like the end of February. It's a quick shoot. Quick shoot. It's going to be like I think it's an 11-day shoot in total. So it's just like a sprint. But it's a really cool script. I'm excited to work on that one. If you don't see us for a couple weeks, that's why. But we won't be gone too long. Like I said, it's a short show. But real quick, I just want to say, Steven said something that had me just laughing so hard here. He's gonna place his books all over your casket, bro. He is.
I like that fact that Stephen thinks I might outlive you. Thanks, Stephen.
Well, he just meant that wasn't like a literal death. Come on. He meant like I died in the computer. Remember, my thing went off.
Oh, that's really
Come on, dude.
I did want to say also, Tommy, that our buddy David Gear, he's got a birthday in February, doesn't he? It's February 20th or something like that, 15th.
We'll have to verify that, but I think you're right. I think that is David Gear's special day is coming up too. So a lot of February birthdays. That's something to look forward to. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. As always,
we do have some more comments, Tommy. If you just want to read them real quick, get more comments.
Let's see what else we got.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Steven.
Let's all vote. Who wants the home movies? They want to see my home movies, man. I'd have to really go through and edit. I'm not saying no, Steven. I'm not saying no. I gotta see what the whole tape has. I know we were all very silly, young, silly bastards at one point. Yep, notes. Mike was doing his research.
That's right, buddy.
I like that we're breaking out into these intellectual sidebars here on And Action. We're going to keep those conversations flowing. Yeah, there's where Steven was gonna, put all this book. Mike's advertising on my casket. As long as he didn't, yeah, well, that's true. Planning a scene with M&Ms like I plan with action figures.
Oh,
Exactly.
Ariana's paying attention. That's good.
Ariana knows what's up.
She's referencing your what do you when you do the action figures to prepare for
Well,
the
I do the action figure scenes, and also Ariana's always we're always checking each other's Instagram out, and she sees that I'm making my action figure videos quite frequently, which is always
your
fun.
storyboarding though. I think she's referring to your storyboarding technique.
I think she's just, yeah, that too. But she knows my love for the Plastic Men. Congratulations, man. Thank you, brother. We're excited about that. Ashes to ashes, back to dust. Thanks, guys. Until next week. See you later. And I love this community we're building up. Kim, Steven, Ariana, Charlie, awesome people. What the tape has, the sensor box. Oh man, if we had a sensor box on this show, I'd be busy hitting it, especially when I almost died earlier. Well, guys, thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Can't thank you enough for posting it out there. I post my promo videos usually on like every Wednesday or Thursday. By then, guys, this is a very, we don't have a full staff here. I'm cutting these things up all by myself. So all you could do to share, you see me put a video out there on my Instagram, put it on your story. Let other people see it. Let them know that you're interested in the show, and maybe we'll get them on here too. Thank you for that. And thanks for following along with us. We'll see you next week on And Action. Bye, guys.
All right.